Hi everybody, I am here today with Katie and we're going to talk about campervan holidays with kids. Actually, we're just saying that we think there will probably be a bit of a revival of the campervan holiday or the camping holiday while we're still sort of unsure about what's happening with our travel plans. But just to introduce Katie a little bit more, she has two kids, 5-year-old Adam and Estelle, who's nearly 3. And you were massive adventure travelers anyway, weren't you? And you've done some pretty awesome trips with your kids. Just tell us a little bit about what you've done, because you've had two pretty cool adventures.
Yeah, we travelled quite a lot, me and my husband, before kids, but then we kind of wanted to keep that going. We took Adam on 3 weeks backpacking around South Korea when he was about 18 months old, which was amazing. He was a very easy toddler, and we were like, we can totally do this every time. And then when we had 2, we went to Costa Rica for 3 weeks. Estelle would have been about 13 months then, and she is a very different child. And we had a wonderful time. It was so much fun. Costa Rica was amazing, but we were exhausted at the end of it. I think, having a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old was just it was exhausting. So we kind of sat on the veranda that last night looking out over the jungle and we're like, should we leave it a bit before we do this again? So we bought our camper van 3 months later, like last winter. So we've had a full year and a bit in it, but we obviously haven't been out in it for this season yet. And we've been really enjoying it, although we are missing, the big dramatic holidays, but we're just going to do both, I think, now.
That's the thing, and they're so different, aren't they? And having a van is something that's on my dream list, actually. So can you just tell us a little bit about your van? Was it a converted camper, or did you do it yourself, or like?
Yeah, well, back before when we did a gap year from our jobs trip, me and my husband, about 7 years ago, and we actually bought a knackered old van in Australia and lived in it for 6 months. So we'd done it before and we'd roughed it and we knew we could. So I had a Toyota Hiace out in Australia, and so I knew we wanted something a bit like that. So we just kept looking and found our van's. It's 30 years old this year. It's old.
Really?
It's very old, very noisy, no power steering, but it was converted into a camper from a kind of, I think it must have been a minibus or something originally, but it's been professionally converted like probably 25 years ago. So it's fully set up with, the beds and cooker and fridge and electrics and all the comforts, but basic comforts.
Actually, I was looking, and I think I mentioned it in the group the other day, because I've sort of been looking at different ways of purchasing a van or an old camper or something. And what I've noticed actually is if you buy something like an old camper van, or like you've done, is something that was converted into a camper van, the mileage for an equal age vehicle is so much lower, because obviously it's been sitting a lot of the time on someone's driveway. Then when they've taken it out, they've done longer distance journeys, which is better for the engine. So is that something that you would recommend, rather than actually buying a van and converting it? I mean, sorry, this is probably not your area of expertise.
Yeah, I mean, I've got friends who are very practical and have converted their own vans and built beds into it. Especially if it's tall, it can be a godsend, because you can build the bed to your size. We're not particularly practical, and we wanted something that was ready to go. But I think the mileage is something you look for. But I think our van's got 70,000 on it in 30 years. So, you often get very low mileage vans, because like you say, people buy them and they just sit, or their circumstances change. But the biggest thing is there's so many different layouts and so many different types. Like, we want it to be able to stand up. Ours is a high top, so my husband, who's 6 foot, can stand up in it. It's got bed in the roof for the kids, but we weren't bothered about a shower or a toilet or anything, and that we were willing to compromise on that kind of space.
Yeah, I think I would as well. I prefer to have the living space and then just use the toilet blocks as if I was camping, really.
Although this year they're not opening the toilet blocks, so we're booked all summer. You can start going out in your camper vans from the 4th, but the majority of sites aren't opening their toilets or shower blocks. So we've invested in a porta potty thing and solar shower to keep us going.
Interesting. So the solar shower fits on the outside.
It's just like a big black bag that you fill with water and leave on top of the van. I suspect we'll be topping it up with the kettle on a rainy day, but it'll do enough to wash your hair and, wash the kids off, I think.
And you mentioned that the sleeping arrangements. So you said your kids, so you can all sleep in the van. The kids are at the top.
Yeah, ours is it's a long wheelbase and it's a high top, so it's the sofa area converts into a double bed, a small double bed, which is, my husband would say, slightly short, but perfect for me. But the roof actually, it's got a bed that pulls out and turns into like a double bed in the ceiling, but it's really low height. It'd be a bit claustrophobic for an adult, and our two kids sleep up there.
Oh, I
So
love it.
it's very compact inside, but it does what we need to, and you can fit it in a parking space in the, you know, Morrison's, which is another key point for me. Like I use it to, yeah, I want to be able to park it anywhere. You don't want to be like, if it's too long, you can't park in the city centre, or, you know, you're restricted into where you can go. So.
And so where have you been in your van then? And do you have an awning that you put on as well? Or do you just...
We have an awning. The awning is fab, just to chuck all the stuff out, because you've got to have somewhere to put it. So you bring all your stuff and then there's no room for you in the van. But we have our awning, and we've been lots of weddings and visiting friends, but we've done a lot of the Yorkshire Dales. We live in Leeds, so like Bolton Abbey, and we've been to Wales last year, which was a lovely, Barmouth. And we've been up to Chester. Lots of, you know, we don't like to drive more than 3 or 4 hours. Like, it's a slow van, like very slow van. So we have to add that time on. But we've got trips booked, you know, every other week. I think this summer we'll be going. I'm very excited. So, but just not too far, just in the local area.
And so I guess from a practical perspective, do you have a lot of things already packed in it, so you are pretty much ready to go? Because I think one of the great things is being, probably not this time of year this year, because so many people are going to be trying to get to campsites, but in previous years, I guess you can be quite flexible, and if the weather looks nice, then you can pretty much pack and go pretty quickly.
Yeah, we've got it down to a bit of an art form now, I think. But also we use it a lot in the daytime. So, you know, when the weather's like, I took a Friday off when the weather was like this a few weeks ago, and we took the van up to a swimming spot up in Yorkshire, and we just went for the day. So you can bring all your stuff, you've got somewhere to get changed, then you go and do swimming, and then you come back and make a cup of tea before you go home. And we've been trying to use it even just for little day trips, even if we're not going away. And the kids get well excited. In fact, we slept in it on the drive for my son's 5th birthday, and he's still talking about it now because it was locked down.
Oh, that's so cute. So what would be your 3 top tips or recommendations of why families should look at a camper van as something that they buy for the foreseeable future?
I think it's, yeah, that's all right. I think it's the flexibility. What we found is that although we love our big trips, with the young kids, doing lots of little 2 or 3 nighters actually suits us better. Everybody doesn't get too tired and narky, and you've not got all that kind of, you know, the fatigue that you maybe get on a long trip. The ability to not have all the travel time, because, you know, you can pick somewhere an hour or 2 from home and you know, finish work and be there ready to go without having to put tents up and things by 7 p.m. And we've actually really enjoyed reconnecting with friends, and, you know, finding the kind of the local site. There's some beautiful places in the UK that, you know, we'd always wanted to visit, but you can't really afford to stay in, you know, hotels, and Airbnbs can be very expensive. This is a very good way of doing it with enough comfort that you're not, you know, sleeping on the ground, which is where I draw the line, really.
But what's the sort of price range that you pay for a night in a UK campsite with a camper van? Because I'm not aware of what that would be.
Depending on, I mean, if you like the big sites with the facilities and the bars and things, which isn't really us, I think it could, with electric hookup and that kind of thing, you could be spending £30-40 a night, I think. But equally, you can go to some, you know, really basic campsite that's just got a toilet block and beautiful countryside, and pay less than half that. And there's also some really good apps and sites like Park for Night and this kind of thing, which list all the free, and there's all the pub stops. So lots of pubs will allow you to park in their car park if you just drink, have a meal with them. There's a whole network of free camping. You're not allowed to wild camp in England. You can't just park up anywhere, but there's a whole network of pubs, certain car parks, and that let you park for free overnight. And like Skipton, for example, you can park. Skipton's got motorhome spaces in its central car park, so you can park there overnight for free and go and visit Skipton. So there's a whole network of ways that you can actually stop off along the route and go free or cheap, as well as going to the official sites.
Oh, what a great idea. And actually, if you don't always have to have the awning, do you? So like you say, if you're finding places, you can have a stop off point somewhere, break the journey up or whatever, and then head somewhere else.
Yeah, we do the big trips for a weekend, but sometimes like we were planning on going to the National Space, that Kids Space Museum near Derbyshire. We haven't been yet, but our plan was to go down there, and actually there was a pub along the way back we'd found that we were just going to stop, have our dinner and then sleep in the van in the car park and then set off again in the morning, and it just breaks up a long journey without it being like a proper holiday.
Well, I actually think there's going to be a huge, like I said, revival of people looking at ways to do domestic holidays. And I think this is definitely one of the ones that's going to be a huge success. So thank you for talking to me today.
No problem.
Great to get your tips. And yes, if you can share those links, I'll post them in the group as well.
Yeah, I'll send you a message. No problem.
Have a lovely day. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much.
Bye,
Love to speak
Katie.
to you. Bye.